As president of the American College of Pediatricians, I am deeply concerned about comprehensive sexuality education for 4 reasons. First, it sexualizes children. Second, it threatens children's health. Third, it promotes a dangerous gender ideology. And fourth, it undermines the parent-child relationship, which violates parental rights.
Queer kid stuff.
Oh, my brothers and sisters, queer kid stuff is at it again. This time they want children to ask people about their bodies. I have to admit that by a certain age you might need to sit down and have that dreaded talk with your offspring. But this YouTube channel is pushing the age limit with teddy bears and wooden block toys. I have to start out by saying that I believe that people do not choose who they are, but are likely born that way. That being said, I don't think it's helpful to ever make fun of or put down people for their lifestyle or how they appear. But let's leave the land of mature thinking and common sense and look into what queer kid stuff is peddling this week.
So I actually wanted to talk about this with you today because talking about bodies can actually be kind of hard and uncomfortable for some queer people.
Oh?
Yeah. Remember when—
I'm sorry to be Captain Obvious here, but most know that kids are not always capable of grasping complex adult issues. Our brains are not finished forming until we are in our early 20s, and maybe are very aware of the idea that it's pretty easy to put ideas into little children's heads, especially when you are the adult parental role model for them. Young kids want to please us adults and are susceptible to suggestion.
Remember when we talked about gender roles?
No more gender roles. No more gender roles.
Exactly, Teddy.
Why would someone want to plant ideas of gender roles into very young minds?
When did you first realize you were transgender?
I didn't know I was a girl until someone told me I wasn't. It wasn't until way later that I heard the word transgender for the first time, although I've always been a guy.
Of course, even at a tender age, kids are very informed on adult topics, or not?
So then tell me what sexual orientation is.
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Gender fluid. It's like
I don't know
always
where it
going.
came from.
It's like
I guess. I don't know.
It's like I'm saying.
Do they really get it, or is it being given to them?
T stands for trans or transgender.
Ooh, that's a cool new word.
Yeah, that's a cool new word that toddlers shouldn't be concerned with in the slightest.
To be fair, let's look at what Parents.com has to say about the harmful effects of imposing gender role on kids. We live in a world that assigns pink clothes to girls and blue to boys. We see gendered ideals seeping through on clothing racks, toy shelves, and even in our own family dynamics. In short, ingraining the idea of gender equality in our kids can be really, really hard.
Wait on it. I wouldn't be too hard on the boy, Merv. He's just a kid.
First thing about this I find particularly amusing is that we are almost 2 decades into the 21st century and someone has just noticed that gendered ideals are seeping into clothes and toys at stores. Perhaps the author of this article would expand their outlook through research and discover that there have been, right or wrong, boys and girls sections at stores for generations. Let me correct that. It's not as much a right or wrong issue as maybe an appropriate one. To be helpful, stores also have separate aisles for infants, toddlers, teens, adults. Is this ageist? Should we now indiscriminately mix infants with adult clothes? You might object and say, hey, disturbing trends, age difference is not the same as gender. And you know what? I would be compelled to agree. It wouldn't make sense to force the elderly to have to sort past all the Pampers and onesies to find their age-appropriate clothes. Stay with me as I'm getting to my point. It does not mean, however, that diminutive people of advanced age wouldn't want to wander over to a younger aisle for smaller and better-fitting apparel. Or they may just want to look hip or cool. Kids will do the same when it comes to clothes or toys.
Let's think about bodies like toys in a toy aisle for a second. Superheroes are usually sold in the boys' aisle, and Barbies are usually sold in the girls' aisle.
Not for long if this crowd has its way, but if we're talking about retailers, the most important thing is the bottom line, selling stuff. Given decades of extensive research into how to sell stuff, most of them, well, the successful enterprise have at least learned how to make shopping easier and more profitable for the merchants. By separating clothes, for example, into winter and summer wear, or by age, they've made it easier for the customer to make decisions, even with the attempts of the third-wave feminists and SJWs to stomp out this terrible notion of gender and indoctrinate preschoolers not into believing that boys and girls should be treated equally, which would be a noble enterprise, but to neuter or feminize the boys and create masculine girls. The teacher at this gender indoctrination preschool says, "This is what we do here, and we are not going to stop it. You see, being male with masculine traits is toxic, as we all know. So, although it will be difficult, the goal is to turn little boys into girls. The confusing part of it is that they are at the same time trying to turn the little girls into boys with despicable masculine traits. How do they explain this? You may notice by now that the indoctrination theme by these SJW meddlers is repeatedly referred to as hard, difficult, or not simple." Quoting from this article, "Preserving a gender-neutral environment is not simple. Karina Sevabjörk-Sauer, 57, who has been teaching at the school for a year and a half, said she often catches herself saying the wrong thing, like an offhand compliment on a child's appearance. It's not simple because it's not natural."
And Teddy, I want to talk about one more thing.
What is it?
Well, remember when I said that bodies can be hard and uncomfortable for queer people to talk about?
Yeah.
But let's get back to this age-old conundrum of choosing toys.
What happens if a girl goes to the boys' aisle and gets a superhero? What happens?
They have so much fun playing with their new toy.
That's exactly right. But if a girl picks out a superhero toy, is that superhero still a boy's toy?
No, it's that girl's toy.
Exactly. And the same thing if a boy gets a Barbie, right?
That's right. It's not a girl's toy. It's that boy's new toy.
You've got it.
Now, you see how easy that was. You pick whatever toy suits your little heart and have fun. But these social justice warrior killjoys want to confuse kids. They have a hard time with us supposedly forcing our gender norms and standards on our kids, but have no difficulty forcibly steering boys into the Barbie doll aisle. Kids gravitate towards the things they want to do. It is natural. What is unnatural is trying to explain radical postmodernist gender deconstruction theory to toddlers. Look, I don't want to beat this horse into the ground, but you have to ask yourself why society doesn't let toddlers smoke, drink booze, drive cars, or join the army. So why are people introducing the young ones to very complex and adult concepts? You know why, don't you? Well, Lindsay, I've had my say, and I'll give you the last word.
If someone wants to talk about their body with you, then that's great. Or you can ask them a question about your own body, but you shouldn't ask someone about theirs. If you have a question about someone's gender or their body, you should
ask them their pronouns and how they identify.
Exactly, Teddy.